have you seen anything with respect to like marketers that are the scrutiny of the budget? It's like how is that unfolding today in terms of getting more with the same or less headcount?
Yeah, so I'd say the number one thing that you see most marketing teams pulling back on is like paid acquisition. It's just one of those things where if you're not careful, like you can truly burn a hole in your wallet. So it's definitely paid acquisition, which saw like the biggest drawback. There's still a room for paid. There's a lot of room for paid. I'm not saying that paid is bad by any means. I just think a lot of people were using paid in a way that was never meant to be used. And so, or like very inefficiently. So
Right,
definitely
they're
that.
spackling over holes in their plan.
Yeah, essentially. It's like if we throw enough money at it and get in front of enough people, like somebody's bound to book a demo.
Yep,
Um,
just throw it on the wall, spackle it in. The
basically,
holes will be
basically.
covered.
Um, And then I'd say like events also can be very expensive. I think if you run an event poorly, like I was at SaaStr last year, and the number of companies where I saw these booths, unmanned booths, or there were these companies which were handing out like swag and t-shirts to people, and all they did was like all you had to do was like like sign in or like put in your email or like scan the QR code and they'd give you whatever. There was no qualification. There was no process of education. And I was like, okay, like this defeats the purpose of the conference. I think the goal is to be telling people about like what it is that you stand for, the types of problems you solve, how that's impacting them. It's not to just like collect an email address from somebody who might not even be in your ICP at all. And so I think yes, like people cut out a lot of that stuff because they were being done efficiently. The TLDR is like all marketing, like every marketing activity when done right can be very effective. I think a lot of companies just like don't do them right is the net of it. And so I think when things start heading south, people have this knee-jerk reaction to be like, let's like look at the biggest spend items, budget items, paid events, and let's just like, cut them out straight up. Let's just cut them out. And it's not really a solution. Like you cut out the spend, but also like where are you going to get a pipeline from now, right? And so I think companies need to go back to basics. They need to think about, okay, do we really understand our customer? Do we really understand like where they're hanging out, either in person or online? Do we really understand like what their problems are? Do we understand who they trust? And let's like rethink our entire go-to-market in terms of and be like customer centric about it essentially. Like work backwards from the customer as opposed to being like, let's show up at SaaStr. The only thing that's common about SaaStr is that these companies are SaaS companies. There's nothing else about SaaStr. Like I don't, there's no audience. At least Pavilion, you know, like, okay, it's CROs and CMOs. And if you sell sales or MarTech, maybe it makes sense to go. With something like SaaStr, it's just like everybody and their mom is there, and you're asking yourself, like, was this an effective? Was this effective? And I'm sure like you can make it effective, but I think people need to be much more nuanced about how they approach things. Also with paid, the number of times I see ads in my feed across platforms, LinkedIn, whatever, which are just completely irrelevant to me. Like I'm not the right buyer by a long shot. And I'm thinking to myself, this company is spending money on some sort of agency or in-house person who doesn't know how to tweak the knobs and is paying LinkedIn money to get these pretty bad ads. It's just a line of text and a button. And they all say something like sufficiently vague about like 10x your revenue or something like that, and put it in front of me, and they're paying money to get in front of me. And I'm just like, yes, this is just like inefficient spend. And so I think companies it's not that they should be just cutting back on budget, it's that they need to like rethink what they should be spending money on. You do need to spend money to make money. There's no way around that. But I think companies need to be very careful about how they think about things. And previously they were just spending money on everything because they could afford to, and they really can't anymore. Slash, they really never could, but they didn't deal with the repercussions. It was like somebody many years down the road who would deal with those issues.
Right. So